Hi everyone, I'm Chris O'Neill from Sew the Distance, and today I'm going to teach you how to make the pillow forms. I pull it out, that go inside the pillow covers I showed you how to make in my last video. And I'm going to give you some tips and tricks along the way. Pillow forms are super expensive. I don't know if you priced them out. There's also a limit on the size. You know, there's standard sizes for them. I like to make my own. They're super easy, super cost effective, and you can make them custom size. I'm going to show you how to do that right now. Okay, so to do this, you're gonna take your casing that you have. I have one here that I made out of an old quilt. By the way, a viewer sent me these quilt pieces. I'll put her name up here. I appreciate it so much. All right, this measures 15, and I'm gonna go to edge by about 10, well, let's see, 10 and a half actually, 10 and a half, 15 by 10 and a half inches. So to make my pillow form, I'm going to cut 2 pieces of fabric that measures 1 inch bigger. So because this is 10 and a half by 15, I'm going to cut 2 pieces of fabric that measure 11 and a half by 16. So you're gonna add 1 inch. And the reason that you're adding 1 inch is because we are going to sew this with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. So we need 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch. I went ahead and cut mine this size. And I use whatever fabric I have. This actually came from an auction that I went to. It was a box lot and they had a bunch of this fabric and it's a polyester blend. You can use old pillowcases or sheets or get them at thrift shops or just anything that's a lightweight fabric. So I have 2 pieces here. I'm gonna layer them together and pin them. And I'm gonna pin inside here just to hold them together. Next, I'm going to mark my opening. Now my opening I want to have either at the top or the bottom, and I'm gonna make it a little big because I wanna be able to get into those corners when I stuff it. And I like to mark it just because it helps me remember when I'm sewing, and it doesn't matter which one. You can just eyeball it. All right. The other thing I like to mark, because I'm a quilter and I know really well what a 1/4 inch seam allowance is, I like to mark my 1/2 inch on the corner so I know where to turn. You don't have to do this, it's just me because, again, I'm a quilter and innately I'll want to turn at that 1/4 inch instead of the 1/2 inch. So I just line up my ruler and mark. And I'll do that on all 4 corners. So I'm going to start here, I'm going to back stitch, go to the corner, turn at my markings, go all the way around, and then when I get back to here, I'm going to back stitch. You can see it's all bubbly. We're going to press this to make it nice and flat, and I'm going to show you another trick. Once I have this pressed, and you can see all the ripples went away, I'm going to do 2 things. I'm going to clip my corners, but I'm also going to fold in right here. This is our turning spot, and I'm going to press this really well, just like that. And then I'm going to flip it over and press the other side the same way. Now normally you'd use a matching thread, but I wanted you to be able to see my seams and how big they are, especially if you're a quilter like me. All right, you can see that that's pressed down. Next I'm going to clip my corners and I'll just cut across that corner, making sure that I don't cut into that seam, and then I like to taper them just like that. All right, now I don't trim down my seams. You can if you want to, but if you do, make sure you don't trim this part because when we go to finish the edge, we want to make sure that we have enough fabric that's folded in. All right, now we're going to turn it. I like to use this purple thing. I just started using it. I've heard about it for years, but boy, there are so many great uses on this thing. I don't know why I didn't get one years and years ago. Now usually you'd use matching thread so you wouldn't see any of that color poking through, and you push them out. And I'm using the 1/4 inch flat edge here to do that. It works beautifully. All right, I'm gonna give this a good press, pressing out these edges, and then we're gonna stuff it. All right, this is pressed all nice and ready to go. We have our opening here. You can hardly see it because it's folded in. We're now gonna stuff it. To stuff it, I like to use Walmart's $5 pillows. Let me grab one. Here's one I already have open. They're huge, they're wonderful, they're $5, and it's much cheaper than buying polyfill. I take a bunch out, and then I like to just smush it up like this. And then I'll start stuffing. Another tip is I like to use this casing when this is empty for my pillow forms, and it has a grid on it too, so it even makes it easier to sew. Win-win. You end up not throwing this part away. All right, let's stuff this. All right, I like to start in the corners and push it in. And you can see why we want a bigger opening. We can get our hand in there and get it nice into those corners. And you're gonna stuff it as much as you want. If you want it really full and not so squishy. That's what I did on this one. This is very, very full, but I could make it squishier by taking some of the stuffing out. By the way, I have a tutorial on this coming up in my next video. This and a whole bunch of other things. So much fun. I'm excited about that. And honestly, that's why I'm making these videos in preparation for this big video. All right, so I'm gonna stuff this whole thing. Okay, so this is all stuffed. We already have this turned in. Beautiful. You can hand stitch this close if you want, but I'm gonna show you how I prepare it to machine stitch it. I just pin it. You could clip it too if you want to, but I find pinning it works really well. And I pin it kind of like that. I also squish down that stuffing so it's lower, so I can get that under my sewing machine foot. Now I can just top stitch across that, and I'm gonna do this in contrasting thread too, so you can see what I mean. All right, so then you just fluff it back up, and it goes in to your pillow form. And of course, if you have a zipper casing, whatever, or if you have to replace something, that works too. And there you have it. I hope this helped you make a pillow form. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope you take some time to sew. Bye.